Hello, folks. Welcome to ZinoNation episode 43. I'm not even sure about that episode, but glad to see everybody here tonight. We got a big show tonight. We have Bill, the drone reviewer, on as our guest, and we're going to do a State of the Union type of show tonight. We're going to catch you up on all the latest gossip and info on all the drones that have either just come out, or are going to come out later on this year. And even bigger news, we got Marcus Crawford back in the house with us tonight. Marcus, how are you tonight, sir?
Well, with that kind of welcome, Ron, I'm doing really, really good. Yeah. So had a good day today, and looking forward to the show.
Good. And Bill, was it a good day to fly today?
Oh, it was an extremely good day to fly, but I was doing my due diligence for public supermarkets today at lunchtime. So it was 75, 5-mile-an-hour winds. You know, kind of like one of those days you couldn't have written a prescription better for. I mean, it was just absolutely fantastic, and I was taking care of business for Publix today.
Gosh darn, I'm kind of having just some weird memories about. You remember, Ron, when you used to have to get up in the morning and go to a job? I do kind of remember that.
I still play around with work here and there. So I may not work for the man anymore, but I still kind of play around with working here and there. So
well, I work for the boss, and she's in the other bedroom right now. So
I hear that.
Yeah, I hear that. Let me get a better thing here. There we go. We got these better boxes now. Okay, well, we got a lot of people in here already with us today. I mean, I'm going to go real fast here. We got Greg Pittman in here. We got DeMarco, FSU grad, in here. Stephen Ewing's here all the way from Ireland up at 2 a.m. to catch this big show. Thank you, Steve. Parks and Tex Josh is in here with us. Dr. Ted's in here with us. Marcus had a meetup with him this week. Maybe Marcus will try to cover that for a second in the show. We got AZ Drone Dudes in here, Johnny Drone Flyer, J Bar Drones is in here with us, Zachary Key, Mike Wright from Texas is in here with us tonight. I think Mike's got a Zino 2 in the way. Coast to Coast Drones is in here with us tonight. Chad Bees joined us, who was a guest last week, who's got the Zino 2. Marcus, of course, is here. Johnny Drones is with us tonight Is he the one with the world's best icon? Yep, from Kelly's Heroes, Ridge Flyer 32, and I think I've got everybody. We'll try to update him as more people come in tonight. Now, since I brought up Marcus' meetup, do you want to just give us a recap of your meetup with Dr. Ted last week, Marcus?
Yeah, well, so Ted Bowman and I have, he's a local drone enthusiast, just like us. He's got, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ted, he's got a Mavic 2 and he's got a Mavic Mini. And we've been trading emails for quite some time. And we finally got together, met for lunch last Friday. And it's possible there could be some kind of collaboration coming up in the future. You never know. It's very possible. But he told me an interesting story. Oh, he said he's got a Mavic Air as well. He told me an interesting story about having a little bit of a flyaway with his Mavic Mini, but he successfully utilized that Find My Drone feature and found it. So all's well that ends well. So.
And if somebody, wanted to get a little more understanding of the Mavic Mini's return to home capabilities, I wonder where they could go for any information on that. Do you know, Marcus, where they could find any information on its return to home capabilities?
Well, thank you for that, Ron. Thank you for that lead in. But yeah, so I've made recently a couple of tutorial videos. And there's a lot of tricks in that little Mavic Mini. It is, one of DJI's simpler drones, but particularly when it comes to return to home, it has a lot of tricks. You can have it return to your controller. You can actually manually set the return to home location using the map. It does have that Find My Drone feature, which is just really phenomenal. And Ted was able to utilize that with great success. But then the thing I did in my last video is I pointed out that you don't have to be afraid of if you have an issue with your Mavic Mini. I purposely turned off the controller, watched the drone go back into return to home, and it successfully came back home and landed. I purposely unplugged the OTG cord from the controller. The drone simply hovered in place. I was able to hit return to home on the controller. It came back. What if your phone crashed for whatever reason? I turned the app off mid-flight with the drone, and there again, it hovered in place and waited for me to either fly it, or I hit the return to home button and it came back. The other thing that's important for people to know, and this applies, I believe, to all DJI drones, is that when you're within 20 meters and you hit that return to home button, the drone is simply going to land in place. Now, why is that important? Well, if you were out by a lake or a river or something, or surrounded by trees or something else, and you hit that button and it starts coming straight down, it could potentially land someplace that you don't want it to. Understand that it's very easy to cancel it by just hitting that button one more time, and that'll cancel it. Or you can control altitude with that left stick. So it's not a disaster, but those are just things that people need to be aware of. And so that's kind of why I made that video, particularly when we're thinking about the Mavic Mini. Many times it's a lot of people, it's their first drone. So, things that are intuitive to all of us in the chat and here aren't necessarily going to be to somebody that bought that Mavic Mini. So that's why that was kind of important to put that out there.
Good points, Marcus. And I have a question for both Marcus and Bill. Somebody in a recent episode of ZinoNation had got the Mavic Mini, and they were having an issue where, they were still getting that message. We did an episode about what was the message when you first got the Mini and you flew it too fast?
Oh, the power message.
Yeah.
Or I can't remember exactly.
Well, anyhow, I think it was Justin. I can't remember Justin's last name, but I think I told Justin, well, that was solved in a firmware update that came out. And he said, when did the firmware update came out? And I said, I think it was before the holidays, but I said I would ask you guys on the show tonight. Do you remember when they released the firmware update that solved that issue? Either one of you?
I think it was before Christmas, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Chad B is saying power insufficient. That's thank you, Chad.
So if Justice watches episode, if you just get your Mini out now and make sure you've done every update, if it's up to date, it should not happen again. Is that correct, Marcus?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. And they also toned down the wind warning. I think that used to be very, very sensitive, and you get that high wind warning when it's really high winds now. So
good to know. And I had another question on ZinoNation. He asked if he was in Colorado and he said he's got some high altitude problems, but he made it sound like he was still getting some. Maybe he didn't say power insignificant, but he said he flies in 25-degree Fahrenheit weather, and that may be below what the Mini's rated for. Is that correct, Marcus?
It is. The Mini is rated to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you get below that, you will have problems. And in fact, I flew it one time at 30 degrees, and that's just a couple degrees below that mark. And I had some gimbal issues and so forth. So I think you need to pay attention to that with the Mini. You see people flying it in low temps, and good for them, but I think you're kind of risking some issues when you do.
Yeah, thank you for those answers. I saw Stephen Ewing put up an interesting comment. We're going to get to the Zino 2 here in a minute. He said, anyone see Chaz B's Zino 2 video? He put up 2 live videos with that app Bill discovered. I was a bit disappointed the transmission stability on 800-900 feet breakup was occurring on the phone screen. And I thought the Lee's 2 was stronger. And I did see that in Chad B's video, but I've seen other people's videos like L3 Toys and Blue Skyver who had better transmission than signal than that. Have you guys you've seen better, right?
Yeah, but the one thing that I want to say is it could be a problem with I'm sorry, gosh, I forget the name of the app.
Time something.
Prism Live. It could have been a Prism Live kind of thing, because I know it said in the notes that you have to have a very up-to-date smartphone with a high-end processor if you're going to use this using the Screen app. So it said it was imperative that you have a high-end phone to do this. Otherwise, it's not going to run right. So maybe that could be playing into something like this too.
Yeah, because again, we've seen other people. I mean, I see Al3 Toys did the range test where he went really far and he had real good FPV for most of the flight.
Oh, on that one from Hubson, the one where they're at like 400 meters high.
Yeah.
At night, but still, I mean, it was a long ways out before it actually had any breakup of the FPV. So.
Right. So I mean, we'll wait to see on that, but that I did see it in Josh's video, but I don't think it's going to be a global issue, but we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of the Zino 2, Bill, it's 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Where is your Zino 2, Bill?
Well, you know what today is, Ron? Today is the 2-month anniversary. I should have a cake with two little candles on it since I ordered my Zino 2. I ordered my Zino 2 December 17th. Today is February 17th. Guess what the status of my Zino 2 is?
Paid.
It's still there. I would say this. It's like a roll of the dice. Whenever you engage GearBest support, it's really quite interesting. The comments you get one day, so the comments you get the next day, the comments you get the next day are all the same. They will tell you just about anything to try to make you happy except the truth, okay? That's the only thing I've determined that is accurate. Who knows? Who absolutely knows? And I know, I'm not the only one that's in this situation. I know from my Zino 2 group, there's been a lot of people that have said, I'm still at paid. And, well, for instance, it's like there are people that have ordered it after me that have gotten shipping notices, and people before me, and there's no rhyme or reason to this at all. None whatsoever.
Right.
Hey, Bill. So know what that means? You and I are going to have to live vicariously through Ron Brown's flights with his Zino 2.
I think so. I think I think Ron's going to have to do a special remote to just us so we can watch this.
I did get a little bit of good news last week. Wednesday, I was out of town. I was traveling. I was in the great state of PA, a state that's near and dear to Bill and I's heart, right?
Absolutely.
PA boys for life.
That's right.
But anyhow, I was in the great state of PA, and I saw people on Facebook talking about their Zino 2, getting shipping updates. So I went to my, the GearBest app on the phone, and lo and behold, my status has changed from paid to packed. And I ordered mine 2 days before Bill did. So it wasn't quite the anniversary yet, but it was only a day or two away. So anyhow, then the next day, like maybe, more than 24 hours later, maybe like 30 hours later, I actually get that it shipped. So all I know is at least the printing label is printed in Chino, California, and I haven't seen any movement on it since. So, I mean, I still have no idea what was going to get here, but at least I saw some kind of movement. Most people seem to get there about 3 weeks after they get the shipping information. So that'll put me in early March. So, if things hold up. But I mean, to Bill's point, I know one thing for sure, Bill. Tim Cook doesn't work over at GearBest, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He's a supply chain guru. That's how he got elevated to CEO, because he made sure everything shipped on time over at Apple.
Hey, Ron, something came up here. Look in the chat. Greg Traver is saying that his is a paperweight. So, Greg, by that I assume that through an update or something that you had some problems.
Chad B put there, the mandatory update for the controllers seemed to make the FPV worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you see somebody today posted in the ZinoNation group, guys, that they said what you do is you to do the updates, you don't turn the drone on. You turn the controller on and then put your phone in, and it'll tell you on the process when to turn the drone on. he said, don't have the drone on at the beginning. Wait until the app tells you to turn on.
Yeah,
So
well,
keep that. I mean, I can't verify it, of course, but just keep that in mind. You know that if you get it, maybe reach out to this guy. You'll see him in the ZinoNation. He just posted it in the last 24 hours. Reach out to him, maybe ask him more questions in particular.
Well, there's been a gentleman who's been posting, I think in all our groups about the problems he's been having with the Zino 2 and how he's and I kind of suggested to him, I think he needs to ping Hubson support or just ping Hubson, because I think he has a defective unit. I don't know if you guys have read any of that. And he's actually put out a couple videos, one where he didn't talk at all, but just kind of like a narrative of what he's done on, to go through that. I think you guys probably have seen those, but it's like, from everything I've read there, I mean, it sounds like he just has a bad unit. He just needs to be sent back.
Well, again, imagine, sending it back and waiting another a couple months for the new one to arrive. You know what I'd done, Bill, if that had me? I'd have sent that back, and then on Saturday, the one-day only sale, I'd have gone over to B&H and bought that Evo 1 for $5.99 and called it a day.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ron, because did you see Ethan Mitchell was asking about the Evo 2? Let me tell you, that Evo 1, they had the refurb Ron just mentioned on B&H for $599. Man, that was tempting. That is an amazing price for that product.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think of that deal, Bill? Only $5.99 for that Evo 1?
That's a steal. I mean,
now, this was a refurb before I get too carried away.
Right, it is a refurb, but even still, I mean, you're getting something that shoots 4K 60 for $5.99. I mean, think about that. I mean, that's, now granted, and I will say this, getting an Evo now versus last year, it's like night and day, because they went through the pain points like you guys did with the original Zino of all the firmware updates. But now, the way the Evo 1 is, it should be pretty much golden. I mean, it really, I mean,
I mean, if you have no interest in 4K, I mean 8K or whatever, 6K or whatever, that could have been for. Let me say that option's not available anymore. But that being said, once the Evo 2 actually hits the market and ships or whatever, of course, I expect to see price drops on the Evo 1 anyways.
Oh yeah.
But we're talking about all these drones here. Let's get to a part of the show. Well, I'm going to do a radio preview. Let's get to our State of the Union on drones, and we'll talk about all the drones that were released at CES, the Zino 2, the Mavic 3, the Mavic Air 2. But before we get into that, because we may never get out of that again, I want Marcus to give us a little update on the SkyDo 2. Now, if you saw a recent video at Snake River where Marcus flew the SkyDo, beautiful scenery, beautiful flight or whatever, but when he had, well, I'll let him explain. He had a little bit of issues with the gimbal, and I think I'm soft selling by a little bit. It was one of the shakiest gimbals. It was the shakiest gimbal in the West or whatever, making a play on that old movie or whatever. But I'm going to let Marcus explain this to you.
Yeah, so the SkyDo 2 is an amazing piece of technology, and I want to add, I flew it that day with the controller, and I hear a lot of people complaining about that controller, but I went out almost a mile with that drone over the Snake River Canyon, and really was obstructed, the rise and the hill in front of me, so I didn't have a direct shot at the drone, and it went out almost a mile. So I'm saying, that's not bad for range, but that aside, as soon as the drone went into return to home and started reversing, the gimbal kind of went nuts for, just a few seconds. And, that was kind of an anomaly. Couldn't figure that out. But then as soon as I got it back in range, resumed control of it. I flew it the other direction up the canyon. And as soon as I turned around and I was coming back, and for those of you that aren't familiar, the SkyDo has a turbo button on the controller, essentially a high-speed button, and yet you have to hold it down. So I was coming back, and I had that high-speed button held down, and then I let go of it, and I let go of the stick at the same time, and the drone came to a quick stop, and the gimbal kind of went nuts for just a second again. And then again, with my second battery, I reversed it out over the canyon, and I hit that turbo button while in reverse, and the gimbal kind of went crazy then again for a second. So that's a concern, right? I mean, that can, if you're working on a good shot, that can cause you some issues. So I got a hold of the folks at SkyDo, and it's just amazing. I sent them an email to their support system, and they got back to me within 24 hours and said, listen, we are aware of this problem. We think that it's something that we can correct with firmware, but they asked me to send my flight logs to them, which I will do. And I know others have had their drone even replaced with the same issue. So we'll see what they say. But I have a lot of confidence that SkyDo is going to get the problem resolved and taken care of. And that's a kind of a difference in customer service. I mean, what an amazing customer service experience compared to what we're talking about, like with the Zino and Hubson.
So what you're saying is that at SkyDo, the gear best customer reps don't work at SkyDo.
Evidently not. They're very, very, very responsive. So it'll be interesting, and I'll keep everybody up to date on how that gets resolved. I want to put a plug in, and Ethan Mitchell's in the room here. I'll tell you, Ethan, you talk about, I know one of the things that Ethan promotes is how good the video looks coming off of the Autel Evo, the color profile, etc. That's the way the SkyDo 2 is. This SkyDo, I mean, right off the card, the video looks really, really nice on that thing. So it's pretty impressive. And I want to put in another plug for the controller, because a lot of reviewers are really highly critical of that Anafi controller for the SkyDo. They complain about lag, etc. I'm just telling you, I didn't see that, and so I think it works pretty good. Just my humble opinion. Ron?
Good thoughts, Marcus. I could come back and maybe comment, but I don't want to turn this to the SkyDo show now. But thanks for that update. And I flew the SkyDo today, but I forgot to fly it backwards to replicate your gimbal issue. But I will on the next nice day. I want to jump into a question we have highlighted on the screen here from our good friend Stephen Ewing from over there in is it Ireland?
Yeah, Stephen's in Ireland.
Okay, he says, what are your views in a DJI video about the remote ID? Okay, I think just today DJI released a video, claiming they had a remote ID system in place, as a term to what being suggested by the I'm going to say FAA. I said it real slow, And we knew about this back, I think, in the fall. They had talked about, what was in this video. And we're going to take a deep dive in this tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bill the Drone Reviewer show. And you may even recognize the guest tomorrow night, too. But anyhow, we're going to touch on it here. But we're going to save the real meaty discussion for tomorrow night. Bill, can you kind of give us an overview of what was presented in this video and some of the feedback you saw on it already?
Yeah, I can kind of give you a Reader's Digest version here. Their system that DJI proposes uses Wi-Fi instead of cell phone signals, so it would be accessible to everybody. They said it would be easily available to all of their drones via a firmware update. And the big takeaway from this is DJI is all for remote ID, not only for law enforcement, but for everyone. And so the big concern and the big comments that are going around have been privacy issues, which I can see. And, the one thing that pops into mind is, somebody's watching me. They're going to know where I'm going to fly. They'll come over, stick a gun in my face, and next thing you know, they're proud owners of a Mavic 2. And the argument's been made too. Also, to make this kind of brief, we all have license plates on the back of our cars, but everybody doesn't know where we're at all the time. and cars kill more people or injure more people than drones do each year. So why do we have to go through all this for drones? Okay. This is why I'm just repeating a lot of the comments, but for me personally, my personal opinion, I'm not going to say a lot because we're going to talk more about this tomorrow night, but for me, privacy is the big issue. Okay. If law enforcement needs to know this, that's fantastic. Okay. They were able to find that guy during the Super Bowl and nab him. All right. Because, it's a no-fly zone. It's a no-brainer here. But for me personally, okay, 100%, I have no problem with law enforcement getting it. Where I have the problem is my neighbor across the lake says, oh, there's Bill. He's going up again. No way. No way.
Yeah, your neighbor could be an insane person or whatever.
Yeah, come over knocking on my house and had a sawed-off shotgun and says, you better land that drone, boy. And I'm like, I don't want to go there.
Right.
Well, my point is even, so you're, and I know we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, but in Idaho, it's very easy for us to get out into Class G airspace. A lot of places we can go is Class G airspace. Why does anybody need to know where I'm flying my drone in Class G airspace? They just don't. Anyway.
Ted Bowman asked if we can get a FAA dude to join us sometime. I don't know any, but
I do know somebody, an alumni from my college. Her husband works for the FAA. I don't know if he's connected with drones or not, but let me see. I'll do some digging. That's the only thing I can say. I'll do some digging on that. See if I can.
So let me ask you, Bill. Was she an ex-girlfriend?
Oh no.
Okay, so you're okay. Okay, good.
I'm good.
Okay, Stephen, you as a follow-up question. Will we be able to see for talk's sake the police drones? Will we be able to see,
He's
talking military drones and all that?
Yeah, see.
No, there's an exception for that. So Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is, and see, remember, if we go back, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow night, but DJI said that every drone over 250 grams was going to have ADS-B installed. Now, if you know what ADS-B is, okay, it's not the transmitter ADS-B, it's the receiver ADS-B. So we could tell where other aircraft are. The Mavic 2 Enterprise series already has that. What DJI said was they're going to put them in all their drones this year. Well, then, surprise, day after Christmas, surprise from the FAA with remote ID coming out, kind of a thing. And it's now one of these things that everybody's like, it's like I hear things like it's 1984, it's George Orwell, it's McCarthyism, it's they're coming after us, they need to know all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. Either extreme is not there. Okay. The thing, and I'll say this again, law enforcement by right, I believe, with something like this, okay, needs to know where we're at. All right. For safety purposes. All right. But the general public, no, there's no way, absolutely no way. And like Marcus said, Class G airspace, go for it. It's like, who needs to know? And I'm flying, at this place in Class G airspace. Nobody does. Okay. Nobody could care less. It's like, as Marcus is flying again. Okay. Well, the only thing I would like to know, because I'd like to know when he's going to have another video from that. But other than that, it's ridiculous. This whole thing is ridiculous. And I also bring up the point as well, too. Now, our good friend Ken Dono, Original Dobo, put out a video about this, and I suggest you guys watch it. It was an excellent video. Okay. And one of the points he raised in the video was, from the manner of the tone from Brendan Schulman and Adam, I'm sorry, I forget the other gentleman's name from DJI, Adam Lisberg. Okay. It sounds like it's a done deal. Okay. It's like, why are we even commenting? Because it's going to happen. It's just, are we going to get a watered down version of it or what kind of a thing, and I'm like,
so Bill, the other concern that I had is that they said that even a legacy product, they can just push a firmware update and all of a sudden it becomes active. So, don't hang on to your old Phantom 3 because they're still going to be able to make it active with the Phantom 3.
Well, there's another point, and and we'll get into some more detail tomorrow night. But other manufacturers, Hubsan, Parrot, Autel, everybody's buying the Evo because no geofencing. It's like, well, guess what, guys? Party's over with this. All right, it's gonna, if you're over 250 grams, party's over. All right.
Yeah.
The only drone you're going to be able to probably get up in the air is going to be your good old Mavic Mini. Okay, so.
Bill, go back and check our good friend Rick Smith's most recent video on the Evo 2. I responded with comments on there about the same thing we're just saying now too, about it's a lot of money for a drone that you may not be flying in less than 3 years. But Rick gave a well thought out response saying that no, they'll be able to. He didn't use the word retrofit. I don't want to misquote his word, but anyhow, he was saying no, they'll be all the update, and you'll still be able to fly the Evo 2 under the new rules. So again, I can't remember his I don't even want to respond because I can't quote him accurately, but just read his response to my comment in his most recent video and see what you think of that. So
yeah, I will.
And before we move on from this subject, because we're gonna really dig into it tomorrow night. Bill, how much time do we have left to comment on the new proposed FAA regulations?
March 2nd.
March 2nd. So anybody that has a comment, start working your comment now. But let's move on. We're going to do a little State of the Union here on the drones that are coming out this year, and we're going to backtrack all the way to the Zino 2, and then move forward to the drones that were announced at CES. Marcus had hands on with most of them, and then some drones that speculation that may be coming this year. So, Marcus or Bill, what's the we kind of touched on a little bit, so we'll gloss over this one quickly. But what's the status of the Zino 2 shipping right now? Basically, the first, even though it was announced at the end of 2019, it's basically one of the first the first real competitors in 2020. What's their status?
Well, we know the first wave has them, right? The first wave of them is out. Yeah.
And not just reviewers, real actual end users have been receiving them. So they can we just recap it? They were delayed according to the original shipping dates, but they are starting to get in the hands of users. And even though Bill hasn't got his update yet, I mean, let's say he will have in his hands in March.
Well, you also have to bear in mind with all of this too, okay, even though there may have been, and we'll never probably really know the full details of this, if it was a supply issue from Hubsan, if GearBest screwed up, if they shouldn't have said this or did that, okay. The coronavirus is definitely come into play here with something like this on all goods from China. I just happened to unfortunately order a new computer from HP that was built to order, and I received a notice now and I paid for it January 21st, that I'll probably get it February 28th. So, I mean, there's a lot of delays on things coming out of China. So I think that's something, I try to temper this with also a real human aspect to it, because people are dying of this virus.
Right.
And, our thoughts are first and foremost with getting, finding a cure for this and getting people well and preventing the spread of this horrible disease. Before we start thinking about, the Zino 2. But I think it's a mixed bag. I think the other thing is it was real curious. The ones that were first getting them were getting them with the extra battery in the bag, it seemed like, for some strange reason. I know Ron brought that up, in a previous show. So it's like there's been no rhyme or reason. It's just been very haphazard who's been getting them. But I think early returns I think it's going to be a winner from everything that I've seen. And
I'll throw one last comment. And the Zino 2 already was experienced delays long before we heard about the coronavirus. I mean, it could have been happening over there, but before we heard it. But we've already talked about Zino 2 too much. Okay, let's go to CES, which Mark's attending again. He had hands on with all the drones. I guess let's go with the big boy first. What's the status on the Evo 2?
Well, we wish we knew, huh? So we know that they've delayed it and that there was some sort of a software issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. I believe it was software.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, we really don't know. The other thing you have to take into consideration is that drone is also manufactured in Shenzhen. So, in fact, an interesting point was at CES, all the people in the Autel booth, we think of Autel as an American company, but I'm just telling you, all of their tags said Autel Shenzhen, China on all of their name tags. But that's a completely separate point. But they're bound to be affected by that slowdown in manufacturing. And you put on top of that issue, whatever. Well, actually, we don't even know if it was software, do we, Bill? It could be hard.
We didn't say software, but you know what? The more people are talking about it, the more I'm having my doubts, because they said in their statement. I went back and reread the statement. We don't want customers to have to do a software update. The day they get it, and I'm like, huh? It's like a Mavic Mini. First thing, software update. Mavic 2 software update. I mean, every time, when drone's out of the box, it's almost automatic. You get it charged up. First thing you do is a software update. So what was the pain point with that?
Whoever said that Autel never ordered another drone. Now this is, I got this from Rick Smith, and again, I don't know where Rick got this, but in the same video I'm talking about, where Rick talks about I forget the title of this video, the 10 things he likes about the Evo. I forget, but yeah, it's his most recent Evo video. He said that the delay is not major. He said that most of these Evos are made. They're in a box. They're just, he went with long thing. They're waiting for the software update. That it's not like we're sitting around waiting for them to make it. These units are ready to be shipped. And again, I don't know where Rick got that information from, but he says that in the video. So, go over and check this video out.
We're going to talk a little bit more about this tomorrow night too, because we're going to talk about the Mavic 3 and the news that we heard about the Mavic 3 tomorrow night. But also bear in mind, one of the big questions that comes into play is, will Autel be able to take advantage of the Mavic 3 not being out this year? That's something, we'll get into that real in depth tomorrow night.
Good teaser. Okay, well, let's quickly move along here. Okay, a drone that received a lot of attention and media attention at the CS was the Vcopter by naming the manufacturer.
Zero Robotics.
Zero Robotics. And Marcus had hands on with the Vcopter. Any of you have any information? I know it's been at least one delay in the Vcopter.
Yeah, they a delay. Oh, go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. They just said that there was a delay, that their target date is now March sometime. So they said asked everyone to be patient with it. But I'll tell you what, the more I think about that, and the intricate mechanisms as far as the gears are concerned, for controlling the rotors and everything, it's just, I don't know. And the big thing for me with this is, and I don't know if you guys would agree with me or not. Okay, the only videos you've seen of this, number one, it's flying in a cage. Okay, and number two, the only videos you've seen from it are like in a parking lot. Pretty much like at ground level, and you're not really seeing the capabilities of this drone. And I think that's a huge red flag to me, because you know what, Autel will put out a video. DJI would put out a video. SkyDo would put out a video. Where's Zero Robotics in this? Okay, you're not seeing any videos from them.
What at CES, I actually was able to hold one in my hand and inspect it and so forth. But they had I'm going to call it a static display. So they had the drone attached to a pedestal, but they had the motors spinning on it. So it really wasn't flying. And I got to look at the controller, and the controller was decidedly toy grade, which is neither here nor there. That, who knows, obviously, how that would affect the drone. But the point that I'll make there is, if that twin rotor system was really a thing, I guarantee you DJI would have done that some time ago.
I agree. I definitely agree.
I know our good friend Brian Singleton had pre-ordered the Vcopter, so he's one is waiting. But anyhow, so as of right now, we have no idea when the Vcopter is shipping. Is that a good summary?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to the most unusual drone we talked about so far. The Power Egg X drone from what's that company's name?
Power Vision.
Power Vision. Okay. Why I say this is unusual? This drone is actually shipping, and you could, I believe Josh said he got it from B. You could actually order from B&H and have it delivered to your house in a couple days. So that's the unusual drone on this list. Now we had the Power Egg X on the show last week. Josh brought it on, and we have Maury in here with us tonight. Maury also has received the Power Egg drone, and he has it in hand already. So this is a drone that is available to be shipped today. So what do you guys know about the Power Egg? I know Marcus, of course, held it at CES.
Josh just put a comment in here. Finally flew my Power Egg X in the sun. No blurry issue, and it was cold. Not entirely sure, but it sounds like a hardware issue for those that have the blurry issue.
Thank you for that, Josh. That's good to know.
Yeah, after talking with Josh, and one of the things, and I think he mentioned it on when he was on ZinoNation last week, was that app. The app is really kind of interesting to me because he says it's the same app that they use for their underwater drones.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, as far as how that works. I think the concept is good. One of the things he pointed out on ZinoNation, and then when he was on Rotor Talk Live, was how the rotors attach to the body of the egg. That there's no discernible click. You just have to kind of like just push it in, and you can feel it connect. But there's no real, it's like, you usually hear a click when you're putting something in like that, and there's no discernible click with that. And he said that kind of bothered him a little bit.
Us old guys like our clicks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I like to know that it's good, it's in there good and solid. That when I take off, that I'm not going to see one of the sides just completely fall off. Kind of a thing.
Right. So anyhow, again, we've seen some. We mentioned before the show that drone photography is that the gentleman's name up in Canada who did the review.
Air photography, I think.
Air photography. Sorry. And he's been a guest. I mean, he's been in the chat on Bill's show on Tuesday, so maybe he'll pop in tomorrow. And but he did have a dark camera issue with it, but we'll see. But at least that drone's shipping, and you can get it right away. And
it appears to be very capable, right? It appears that it works. That the waterproof thing, that cover, might be a little bit gimmicky. Because as even Josh mentioned on your show, Bill, that, hey, you're going to get water drips as it gets wet, and so forth. But it's a thing. I mean, I would say, if it's a snowy day or something, it might be kind of fun to have that on there. But I think the big thing is it's a real drone. It works as advertised. So that's kind of a big deal.
Maury, who has the Power Egg, he said the connection feels very solid. He doesn't need to click. Thanks for that, Maury. And Ethan Minshall's got to head out. Good night, Ethan. I'll see you Wednesday night on Drone Therapy, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Bill Thomas and the gang. So, okay, well, let's move on to the last drone at CES. Bill, the X Dynamics. What's the rest of the name? X Dynamics Pro.
Inspire 2.
No, the X
Dynamics.
It's
Evolve 2.
The Evolve 2. Now, what's the status on your order on that one, Bill?
Okay, last I know, because I've been in touch with them and their team there. They told me they were going through a testing phase before they were going to release it out to beta testers, and they said that was going to take 2 months. Now that was back at the end of January. So I imagine it won't get into testers' hands until April at the earliest. And then from there on out, probably looking at maybe a May kind of a time frame as long as the beta testing shakes out, as far as the actual release is concerned. Now, they were running a special, and I haven't looked on their site, but if you pre-ordered it, they were going to go ahead and give you a $150 battery for free if you pre-ordered it. You know, and the nice thing about this, and the thing that I find so appealing about this, is this really fits nicely between the $1,700 Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 and the, looking at 3 or 4 or 5,000, by the time you're done getting the cameras on a $10,000 Inspire 2. This is going to fit a nice niche right between both of them. Okay. It's going to be real solid in there. And I know some people have complained about, they've already talked about the camera and some of the shortcomings of that. Let's wait to see what the product looks like here. Let's wait to see what they have, because the camera has it has an interchangeable camera module with it, which I think is interesting. And by far and away, the best display of any remote on the planet Earth for a drone. It is, except for probably something that the military uses. It's just phenomenal. And I've seen, basing it upon, the first one, and they said the second one is that much more improved. In fact, if you have to replace the remote, it runs $950 just to replace the remote. So,
wow.
Well, Bill, I'm going to tell you from looking at that drone in person, aesthetically, you just have never seen anything like that. That carbon fiber, it's just beautiful. I mean, clearly they put a lot of work into the look of that drone. Now, I know that doesn't say anything about how it flies or whatever, but it exudes quality. Let me put it that way.
No, but we have no idea when it's shipping, though, right?
No, not right now. Okay. If I were to guess, my guess, and this is just a wild guess, probably May, but that's just a very wild guess.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Well, now that we've covered all the CES drones and all the drones that actually announced, let's speculate about drones that are not announced. And I guess we'll go with the Mavic Air 2 first. Bill, have you heard anything new on the Mavic Air 2?
Well, our source, Lauren, has told us, looking at an April or May type of release with that. And I would agree, said that this is rock solid, that it's a done deal. This is something that they're not going to pull back on. My only question and concern about this, well, obviously, it's going to have better ESCs, better props. It's going to be quieter. That they're going to have peaked the battery a little bit here to try to get better battery life. I don't expect it to be physically a whole lot bigger, but I think the big thing here and the big key to this is, and I know Marcus had it, and I had one too to test, and I never had experienced these Wi-Fi issues that other people just absolutely bitterly complained about. My whole thing is, if there's some way that they could get some type of a non-Wi-Fi system in there, if they have to use, the first OcuSync with this that was in the original Mavic Pro, or some type of a version of OcuSync in there, I think that would be fantastic, because it would really bridge the gap very well between what you're getting with the Mavic Mini and what you're getting with the Mavic 2 Pro. It would really fit in there really well. And the one thing I really liked about it was the size, the portability of it, and the functionality for what you got for the dollar value. I thought it was fantastic. And yes, I do think that even a Fly More kit is going to be under $1,000. It may be $999, but I think it's important. It's real important for DJI to keep that price point under $1,000 on this.
Totally agree.
Yeah, that was the big question I was going to ask you. Would they be able to add any sort of OcuSync to this? And the key thing, if they added OcuSync to it, could they actually keep the price lower than the Mavic 2 Zoom? Because if they can't keep the price below the Mavic 2 Zoom price, why would you buy it over the Mavic 2 Zoom?
Oh, yeah. We'll see. Again, with something like that, Ron, I firmly believe even if they get OcuSync in there, I think because it'll sell well, they'll manage. I mean, it'll push the envelope at $999, but I don't think it'll go over $999. I think that's kind of going to be a cutoff point.
Yeah. Well, here's a key question for you, Bill. I know one of the biggest complaint about the Air was the noisy props, but probably the second biggest issue beyond the Wi-Fi range was the battery life. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think? I mean, they're gonna have better battery life, but if they add something like OcuSync 2 to it, that may kill the extra battery life they could, add otherwise. Would you think? What would you consider more important, a considerable gain in battery life, or a minor thing in battery life and have an OcuSync 2 in it or something?
I would say a minor thing in battery life and OcuSync, because Ron, the overwhelming comment that I got whenever I put a Mavic Air video out was the Wi-Fi issues. And I know what's really funny, I live in a very urban environment here, and I never had that problem. Of course, Marcus was probably flying his vast expanse of Class G airspace named the Marcus Crawford Airway there, out near his house. But no, I mean, he didn't experience it either, and people were saying even in non-urban environments, they were getting it. And that's what kind of like, I never had it. I mean, I flew it literally every day for 2 weeks. I had a time frame before I had to turn it back in, and I flew it every day for 2 weeks, and I never experienced it, not at all. So, yeah, I think it's more important for them to focus on the connectivity issue versus battery life.
Interesting. Okay, well, we'll hop along real fast here. What do you hear about the Mavic 3? There's rumors out there may be, well, I won't even say delay since it's not even announced. It can't be a delay if something's not even announced. But I'll frame this question a little better. What's our prospects to see the Mavic 3 in 2020, Bill?
Slim to none, and none just went out the door.
Yeah, none's out of town.
Yeah. The reason behind this, and we're going to do a really deep dive into this tomorrow night on Rotor Talk Live. Supposedly, the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 series is selling well, is the reasoning behind this. And, I'll save my thoughts and analysis for tomorrow night on that. But we're all three of us, we're going to have a lot to talk about with this tomorrow night.
Okay, and so let's see. How about any other possible drone rumors on the horizon? Maybe a Fimi X8 2, maybe a Parrot Anafi 2. Any other rumbles you're hearing from smaller drone companies, Marcus?
Ron, you brought up the Parrot Anafi. So the only thing we can say there is all of a sudden it seems that they're dropping their price significantly on it.
Yes.
Bill Thomas posted earlier today on Coast to Coast Drones. He had a link to Best Buy. They had the I can't remember what Parrot calls it, but the equivalent of a Fly More combo. You got a bag, you got an extra battery, etc. for $599 for that Anafi. $600 for that thing is in battery and everything.
Mark, I believe that's 2 extra batteries for a total of 3 batteries in a case.
Yeah, that's a pretty good kit for that kind of money. And then Ron, you found recently that on Amazon they have the Parrot Anafi as a refurb for $409. So if they're dropping the prices, do they have something up their sleeve that they're going to release? That's just absolutely speculation on our part. But we've seen that in the past, so it kind of makes sense that maybe they would. The other one that we didn't mention is the unique Mantis. Help me with the letter, guys.
The G?
The G. Yeah, I would think of the Q, but the G is the one that is is more sophisticated.
It has a three-axis gimbal in it, and the other one doesn't, whatever the other letter is.
Yeah. So I think the issue there is it seems to have some pretty good specs, and I've never read, and you guys jump in, I've never read anything particularly good or bad about it, either one, but I think the price point at $799 is just a little high. What do you think, Bill?
Well, I think, it comes from the pedigree of Unique, okay? And I'm sorry, Unique has an image as far as drone enthusiasts are concerned, and unfortunately, it's not a very good one. I mean, for those that like it, they really like it. It really fits in their niche. But, the videos that I saw and what I heard from it, the Wi-Fi connectivity was a real concern with this drone. I mean, it was very, very poor from what I heard, no matter what kind of environment you were flying in. And the other thing that I think has really kind of botched sales with that has been the price point on this. That price point is just, for what you're getting is, I mean, there's so many better drones for that kind of a price.
Hey,
go ahead, Marcus.
Well, you guys just made me think of something. I remember the other big feature on that particular product was the flight time. Is it living up to its flight time? It was like a
30-some minute flight time.
Yeah.
I think it has a hard time making 20 by the few videos I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so too.
And I know Unique sometime in the second half of last year they released the big hexacopter they make.
I can't remember, but
yeah,
the Typhoon.
They released a new version that had the well, you know how DJI has what lens is on the Mavic 2 Pro? What's the lens company?
Hasselblad.
Well, it's another boutique lens company that escapes my mind, and they made the camera for the Unique Typhoon.
Was it
Leica? Yeah. So they kind of copied the Mavic 2, and as far as they got a boutique lens maker to make the camera for them, and I didn't hear a whole lot bad or good about that new Typhoon. I mean, this is all rumors. I've never owned a Unique product. I never even had that little Unique that everybody else had, kind of a pre Spark or whatever type of drone. But I think I think that the big Unique, I think it only has Wi-Fi, so the range is only about a mile on it. So a lot of people don't like the range on it. But I think it's, camera wise, I think it's got all the, it definitely brings the camera specs to the table. 1-inch sensor, like a lens, full manual control. But
I got to think, you had mentioned the Fimi X8 version 2. Okay. Well, I know you guys can speak to it because each one of you have flown this, and I know Chad's flown it. I know there's been several others that have had it. I think the big thing that they need to work on that is probably, that transmission, the FPV kind of, not necessarily the distance, but the signal you get back for the FPV view. Everything I've heard from anybody, they've always talked about how, the drone's still going well, but you're getting a bad image back for that.
You don't have to get very far away in your FPV. I'm not saying it breaks up. It just doesn't look that clear. I mean, you can see what you're doing and where you're going. So it's all just it's all just, what do you say? What you like. So I get the dumb thing. If the FPV looks blurry, I don't think I'm taking good video, whatever, which doesn't mean anything to what's getting recorded to the memory card. But yeah, I mean, they could work on that. I mean, the Fimi X8 already packed in so many features for the price or whatever that it'd be interesting to see where they go with the version 2. And I hate to be a pessimist, but even if the version 2 was announced March 1st, you know how long it would actually take to get that thing shipped out to end users in the US. We'd already be way into the, probably, again, even if they announced it next month. So yeah, we'd be lucky to have it, well, maybe not Christmas. We'd be lucky to have the darn thing by
Labor Day.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and I got to say this, just because, I'm starting to get a real feel for how some of the, other than Autel and, DJI and other Chinese drone companies operate with Hubsan. Okay. And some of the dealings, and, I've heard a whole lot of things as far as Hubsan is concerned. I've got to think that Fimi wants to keep their name up there with this. And they'll probably want to, it's a competition, and it's a competition for the dollar. And, it's in that price point that you don't see a lot of I'll call between toy grade and between, more consumer grade drones. Okay. It fits in that area where the Zino fits in. And I think it's a niche. It's a niche that Hubsan's carved out, and then Fimi's carved out. And then I got to think that Fimi's going to want to say, you know what, we got something in the works that's going to match, or maybe even better, what the Zino 2 is going to do at the same kind of price point.
That's great for the market. Yep, great for the market. Those two companies are battling out. So I ask a final question to you two before we wrap up here. We're almost at an hour in here. Okay, what with our speculation, if our speculation all happens, there's no Mavic 3 or whatever, and what will be the high end drone of the year? We'll say 2,000 under. We're not going to talk about over $2,000 drones, but what will be the the advanced user drone for the people that have a little bit of money to spend, and then what'll be the best budget camera drone of the year? Either one of you go first.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. I'm gonna say this because of the news and everything that's come out here. I'd say for under $2,000, okay, a lot of people are gonna go with the Evo, and they're gonna say, it's gonna have that camera and everything. This is gonna come as a shocker for people, okay? I'm gonna say this. The Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, okay? It has that 4K, 60 frames per second. It has that mechanical shutter that a lot of people look for in a drone. It's a stable platform. It's been tested over time. It's proven. It's not something that's going to come out and need firmware update after firmware update after firmware update. You buy that out of the box, charge it up, download your firmware updates, you're good to go, okay? So that's my choice for like a high-end drone. And it's a sleeper. It's a total sleeper because everybody's going to go with the Evo too. Okay. But for me,
and I'll cut you off, but you're right, Bill. I wouldn't be surprised when I don't know, the Evo 1 and sensor comes out, if somebody does a video comparison head to head with the Phantom 4 Pro V2, that the video that it'll be real close, and maybe the Phantom 4 Pro still is the winner or whatever. But I didn't mean to cut you off. So you go now. What's your budget pick of the year?
My budget pick of the year, okay, and it's a really kind of a toss up, okay. I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna go with a drone that I don't even own right now. I'm gonna go with the Zino 2, and the reason I'm going for that is the early videos that I've seen, the good ones, okay. For all that we say about Hubsan and for knocking them, okay, they've gotten some software updates out there. They've corrected some issues, okay. There's still some coming, and when you get a drone in this early phase like this, you got to be kind of leery. But as Ron had talked about, and I think we talked about this in the pre-show, when you see, it's flying into the sun, there's some distortion there. But when you're coming back, those colors are so crisp, so sharp, so clear, okay. It now has an optical flow sensor on the bottom of it. It has a display on the controller, and for the price point that we were able to get ours at $399, okay. This is not degrading the Mavic Mini, which I totally, absolutely, positively love. But for a drone for $399 that shoots 4K, 60 frames per second, to look at some of the colors that I've seen, especially, and our friend Blue Skyver, not to knock him, but, he's in the middle of winter, but our friends at L3 Toys, they're in Malaysia, and, they're able to have, it's a warm climate there, and some very crisp, clear colors, just very vibrant. So that's why I'm picking this. I'm picking it even ahead of being able to own it, for my lower end drone of the year.
Plus, it has a payload of 4 water bottles.
That's true.
Yeah. Marcus, what are your thoughts on these high end and budget drones?
Well, very similar to Bill. Now, if there was a Mavic 3 this year, which I agree with Bill, there isn't going to be, but if there was, that would probably be the one, because we know when DJI comes, they always bring their A game. But other than that, I'm going to say that Evo. And with all due respect, Bill, I think more, the Phantom 4, because it's not portable like the Autel Evo is, it just is not going to get the same audience. And that Evo with the higher 4K 60 and 6K and 8K, there is, I think, with higher end people, an audience for that, not us regulars. But as a prosumer drone, I would suspect that's going to be the one to beat this year. And the caveat I'm going to throw out there is, we know there is going to be a Mavic Air 2. How cool is that going to be? We just don't exactly know yet. But then on the lower end, Bill, for the same reasons that Bill said, the Zino 2 for sure. The only caveat I'm going to throw in there is that the Power Vision, that the egg is got a lot of capabilities. The only difference I'm going to say is the price point is about double that of the Zino 2. So that's why I'm giving the Zino 2 the nod, is because of the combination of the price point and the features that it brings to the table. And just like Bill very aptly described, we've seen video of that thing that just seems to be phenomenal. And Ron, our experience with the original Zino, we know the camera had very, very marginal hardware, but yet they developed the software to the point on that drone that it took some really nice 4K video, for the price point. So now they've got much better hardware in the Zino 2. And, I know there's some bugs coming out of the box here, but I suspect we're going to see that thing refined to the point that people are going to do some amazing stuff with that drone. And the only other thing that I want to add, and Ron and I discussed this the other day, is it's no longer available for $400, $399. You can get it directly from Hubsan for $499. But just like we've seen with other Chinese drones, I'm willing to bet within a month or two, we'll see it on the Chinese websites, GearBest, Banggood, some TomTop, some of the others. I bet we will see it for, around $450, $420. I'll bet we see that kind of price range before too long. And that makes it just a phenomenal product for that very reason. Ron, back to you.
Good comments from both of you. I'm going to, agree with Marcus. I think the high end under 2,000 drone will be the Evo 2, the 1-inch sensor model. And I do agree with Bill, though. I think among professional users, certified pilots, I think the Phantom 4 Pro V2 may be the choice. But among all mixed in with consumers, I think they'll go with the portability of the Evo. So that's where I'm going there. And on the low end, it's a tough call because the Mavic Mini is such a good drone. But I'm going to go. We're going to do triplicate here and pick the Zino 2, even though I've only gone on people's videos for all the reasons Marcus and Bill said. I don't think I have anything new to say in there. But I do think that no drone will sell more units than a Mavic Mini this year. I'm not saying dollars because it's expensive, but no drone will sell more units in the marketplace, online in stores, than the Mavic Mini. And maybe because of that price, that affordable price of the Zino 2, like Marcus said, the price is going up now, but it'll readjust down once all the orders have been filled and it's not on back order. The Chinese retailers, they'll go to war again, and we'll see price wars. I think that could possibly be the second most sold drone in 2020 because of the low price. I mean, it won't make as much money as the Evos in the high end, the Mavic Air 2s, or whatever, because they're making so much money. But I'm just talking units shipped. I mean, the Zino 1, I wish they'd keep numbers on it. I bet you there's more Zino units of the Zino 1 out there than most drones we could think of.
I agree, Ron.
I bet you there's more Zino 1s in the marketplace worldwide than there is Mavic 2 Pros. That's not even close.
I bet you're right.
I'm not going to put money on that, but I'm not sure I agree with that one, Ron. But there's a bunch of them out there. But you made a great point with the Mavic Mini. Now, if we were to throw another caveat on there, for a first-time drone buyer, I would tell them to buy the Mavic Mini rather than the Zino 2.
I've been saying that long because the average first-time drone user with the house in the suburbs and the 2 kid gets the Zino 2 home, and he can't do the updates and all this, and they're going to be pretty frustrated. So I could go either way on the low-end drone of the year. The Mavic Minis, Mavic Mini could be the drone of the year, just period. Overall. Anyways, I guess we'll try to wrap this up here. We're at where's my little timer here? Anyhow, for an hour 9 minutes into the show. So again, we're going to reconvene tomorrow night on Bill's show, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I said 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll dive more into that. The video from DJI with the system that shows where the user's standing, kind of some of the FFA system. We'll dive more into the Mavic 3 rumors and so on. So either Bill or Marcus, you have any final thoughts before we get out of here tonight?
Go ahead, Marcus. Go.
Well, I just was going to say we want to express all of our condolences to Stephen Ewing. He evidently lost his mother recently. So, Stephen, you're in all of our thoughts.
Thanks for putting that out, Marcus. Yeah, Stephen, you have my condolences. I'm sorry to hear about that. I really am. Bill?
Yeah, very sorry to hear about that, Stephen. It's a life-changing event, and our thoughts and prayers are definitely with you at this time. Want to thank Ron and Marcus for having me on tonight. Looking forward to a great show tomorrow night. We're going to take a deep dive into the Mavic 3 and look at all the reasons why we're not going to see one this year. And we're also going to ask the question, will the Autel Evo 2 be poised to be the king of 2020 as far as drones are concerned? And then we're also going to take a look at this proposal from DJI, for remote ID. Is this something that's going to be viable? Yes, no. And we'll take a real deep dive into this tomorrow night.
Thank you, Bill. And I want to thank everybody in chat. We had a lot of great comments, questions, a lot of helpful stuff going in the chat today. We had a couple new subscribers. Aiden Hill's a new subscriber, and Maury Z is a new subscriber. So thanks for the new people joining us and contributing to the show already. I see a couple new names in here. I'm not sure if Tori Falsh has been with us before. If you have, sorry I missed you, but if not, welcome to the show. Brian's in here. I'm not sure. I've seen Brian in here before, but thanks for all the new people joined us, and the old people joined us. And don't forget, if you're not doing anything tomorrow night, come over to the Bill show, and if not, or even if you do, come back next weekend. Hopefully, we'll have more Zino 2 updates for you next weekend. And I put out a little video this weekend. I'm not telling anybody to do it because I haven't test flown yet, but I got my Zino 1 to connect with the Zino 2 app. The Zino 2 got its own app, is broken out from the standard Hops and Flying app, and I got to connect and move the gimbal around and change settings. I haven't test flown it yet, so if anybody's doing it, don't be very careful, because I haven't tested to see if it's safe. But on that note, we will see you on the next one.